Hello and welcome to the bracket breakdown. I'm Carter Resident, and over these next few minutes, we're going to break down the entire bracket for you and go through region by all the regions and tell you my final four picks and who's my pick to win it all. The selection show was today, and it was a really interesting selection show, and I posted it if you haven't seen it, so you can go ahead and check it out. But don't check this one out before you watch the selection show, because then you'll know all the matchups. But anyway, it was a interesting selection, so let's get started. Let's get into the regions. We'll start with the first bracket, where the number one overall seed, the Oklahoma Sooners, are the Big 12 regular season and tournament champs, and this has clearly been the best team in the country as of late. Like, the past few weeks, they've been really rising, and now they're playing like a championship caliber team. They open with the winner of Mississippi Valley State and American, and that should be an easy win there. The 8-9 game is what I'm really intrigued by. Fresno State and Utah. This is a very intriguing matchup because these two played in the 2016 first round. Utah won, it was a 3-14, but now it's an 8-9. Utah won the Pac-10 tournament. Fresno State lost in the WAC semis, so I'm probably going to give Utah the edge there. Then you got, down here, you got Louisville, Tennessee Martin, a dangerous 5-12 matchup, but Tennessee Martin, they're only making their first tournament appearance, so I don't think they'll win this game. I think Louisville will be fine. Then you got Georgetown, Charlotte. I have Georgetown moving on there. So that's really the top half of the bracket. The bottom looks like this: Clemson, Nicholls State. Well, you gotta pick Clemson, although I'm not entirely sold on this team. North Carolina and NC State. NC State, they made it all the way to the championship game as an 8 seed last year before losing to Boston College. They were a 10 seed this year, and now they have to start against North Carolina, their former ACC foe. That's not going to be easy. Looking at their draw, I think it's fairly difficult. And then you got Pittsburgh, the 3 seed, another ACC team, against Mountain West tournament champ TCU, who stole a bid by winning it. And then you got Washington out of the Pac-10 facing bubble team Illinois. 6-11 Illinois, one of the last teams in. I had them in personally, so their resume looked good enough. So, looking at the top, overall the region's thoughts, you got 4 ACC teams in it. Possible 3 can get to the Sweet 16. Louisville could get to the Sweet 16. Clemson or North Carolina could get to the Sweet 16, and Pittsburgh gets to the Sweet 16. So, having 3, I think it's going to be interesting to see what the ACC does come out of there. Let's take a look at the more facts about this bracket. The Washington-Illinois game is the first game to kick off the round of 64, so that should be interesting. I personally have Illinois playing off the upset. I think they're the bubble team that could cause the most damage. The most interesting matchup possibilities: Oklahoma versus North Carolina regional final. Now, that probably won't happen, but Oklahoma, North Carolina. Oklahoma can get to the Elite 8. I don't know about North Carolina, but if that happens, North Carolina can make it more of a game than people think. People think Oklahoma would steamroll over them, but North Carolina, they're very tournament tested. They are a very dangerous 7 seed, and I think that matchup will happen. TCU, a 500 record as a 14 seed, but they won their conference tournament, so I'm a little surprised they weren't like a 15 or 16 seed, but I guess that's what the Mountain West rewards you with, winning a league like that. NC State versus Carolina, that's an old ACC battle in the first round. That should be an intriguing matchup. NC State moved to the Big East Conference in my game. So Illinois, bubble team, Big Ten, they got in. And then my final 4 pick has to be Oklahoma. Like Oklahoma, they just have the right matchups. They match up well with everybody in their region. They match up well with the playing winner. They match up well with Utah, Louisville, and North Carolina. So that's what I think will happen there. Now let's move on to the region where Florida's a top seed. They open with Morgan State, and that should be a cakewalk for them. The 8-9, another intriguing matchup. Boise State, Weber State. It's my most interesting matchup because both of them are mid-majors. Boise State won the Mountain West regular season, but then lost in their first game. Weber State won the MAC regular season and tournament title. They got up to a 9 seed. They have a lot of respect. UCLA, Nevada. This is a tough game. I have Nevada pulling the upset, but if UCLA wins it, they can really cause some damage and really go perhaps all the way to the Final Four. We don't know. Oklahoma State, Montana. Then you got the Creighton Blue Jays, a number 2 seed. They're a highest seed in school history. Winthrop is out of the Ivy League. Creighton, they're great. They're my pick to win this region, personally. Then you got Auburn and San Diego State. San Diego State, bubble team out of the Mountain West, they got in. So then you got Kansas, Eastern Washington, Kansas. I'm not particularly sold on the Jayhawks this year. They're just one of those teams that they're a free seed, they're a good team, but they just don't seem that good this year. And then you got USC against Gonzaga, and that off the bracket Gonzaga, the West Coast Conference Tournament champs. I personally think the USC-Gonzaga winner will knock out Kansas in the second round. That's just... I've really not been sold on Kansas this year. Oklahoma State versus UCLA almost happened last year, but UNC Wilmington upset UCLA to prevent that. And I don't think... Well, and I think that Nevada will prevent that as well, but if UCLA does win, I won't be that surprised. This is the toughest region in my mind, because you got UCLA, Florida, Oklahoma State, Creighton, Kansas, USC, Gonzaga. So many really strong teams. My final pick, like I said, is Creighton. But, you know, anybody can come out of this region. It is wide open, full of great teams. Florida, to me, is the weakest of the number one seeds. They're a good team, but they are the weakest on the top line. Like, they didn't even win their conference tournament, so I really see them as the weakest of the one seeds, and they're going to be the one gone before the Final Four. That's just my opinion. I think the UCLA Oklahoma State winner can knock them out in the Sweet 16, but Creighton, I have them winning that region. On to our third bracket of the day. Virginia, the top seed, they open with Long Beach State. Cal State, Bakersfield in the 8-9 again, except this time they're the 8th seed. They play Mississippi State. Ohio State, Delaware, Iowa. They've had a really surprising season. They played Quinnipiac in for the first time ever. Bottom half of the bracket, my title pick, Alabama. They are a red-hot team, playing the best of anybody right now. They open with East Tennessee State. Michigan State, Minnesota, and a little Big Ten showdown there. Iowa State gets South Carolina Upstate, and Washington State gets Louisiana Tech. So, facts about this bracket. Louisiana Tech, A10 bubble, they were the last team in. The very last team in. So if any bid stealer had happened, they would have gotten knocked out. Bakersfield, highest seed for a WAC school ever. Especially with an 8th seed. That's like weird. The most intriguing matchup possibility is a possible Alabama-Iowa State Sweet 16. I have Alabama winning that, but Iowa State's they are kind of the sleeper dark horse free seed to get to the Final Four. I think the winner of that gets to the Final Four, personally. The winner of that, I think, knocks out Virginia. Virginia, I know they won the ACC tournament, but it just seemed a little beatable. Michigan State, Minnesota. Iowa, two Big Ten possibility matchups. Michigan State, Minnesota, which will happen, and possible Iowa, Ohio State round 2. Bakersfield's second straight tourney. They appearance as a 9 seed last year. So, in the end, my Final Four pick is Alabama. Alabama is just, I think they will roll to their first Final Four ever. And then the last region, where Villanova is, they play Bradley, and that should be an easy win there. Then you got Missouri and Oregon. A possible Villanova-Missouri rematch, but I don't think that will happen. I think Oregon knocks them out. Xavier and Rider. This is a 12-5, which is going to be one of the sexy upset picks. I like Rider in that game because Xavier has not done anything well. East Carolina, one of the hotter teams in the country, they'll obviously beat William Marymount. Then you got the defending national champion, Boston College, down there, up against Loyola, Illinois. Rhode Island and Providence, an interesting 7-10 that we don't know much about either team. West Virginia or West Virginia meets Louisiana Monroe, and then VCU, loser in the first Colonial Tournament game, they get A10 tournament champion Tulsa. So facts about this bracket. So, my opinion, this is the weakest of the 4 regions because it's just Xavier. The seeds 4 and below, they're either in majors or have been kind of weak this year. Most intriguing matchup in this bracket is the VCU Tulsa game. Yeah, again, the tournament champion VCU at large in the at large in VCU tournament champion in Tulsa. I have VCU winning that game right now, but right now Tulsa definitely has a great chance to pull the upset. So I won't pick it, but it's possible. East Carolina, their best season ever, their highest seed ever at a 4. This is the best Pirates team of East Carolina ever. They've been a 16 seed before, now they're a 4. Boston College, they won it all as a 2 seed last year. They're the defending champs. You can't. This is really interesting. And my Final Four pick out of this bracket is Boston College. I think they will go back to the Final Four, but I do not see them repeating as champs. But I do have them winning this bracket just because it is a weak bracket, And even though Villanova won the Big East tournament, I think this team is capable of knocking Nova off that pedestal and getting into the Final Four for a second straight year. So, who makes it to Detroit? I have 2 seeds in the 1 seed. I have Oklahoma versus Creighton, Alabama versus Boston College. I have Oklahoma defeating Creighton just because of the matchups and the experience. The other game is really tempting. Boston College has a great chance, but I think Alabama, they're this year's first-time champion. I think they take down the defending champ Boston College, and then I have them over Oklahoma in the championship game. I think Alabama, this is their year in college basketball. This is the year that they win a basketball championship. I think they get over the hump. I think they beat Oklahoma, and I think they win a national championship. So, but that's just how I see the bracket. Like, please comment those of what your comment below on what you think about the bracket. It's what's your most intriguing matchup possibility? What's your upset picks? Am I wrong about it? But let's before we go, I'm going to take a look at the 5-12 matchups. That 5-12 Ohio State Delaware game that I didn't talk about. Personally, I have Ohio State winning this. I mean, Delaware, they won the American East regular season and tournament championship, but that league was just not that good this year. That's why I had Ohio State winning that. So, looking at the 1-16s, I don't think a 16 will be the one this year, but looking at them, Virginia Long Beach State, Florida Morgan State, Villanova Bradley, Oklahoma gets the playing winner. The most likely would be Bradley Villanova because Bradley came out of the Missouri Valley, but they're 500. I think they're like 16-16 or I think they're like 17-17. So long chance of that happening. But if there was a 16-1, I think Bradley would be your best bet. And that'll do it for the bracket breakdown. Enjoy the madness, everybody. Take care, and hopefully your brackets stay intact. This is Carter Resident. So long from my bracketology.